do. Yeah, I haven't renounced it. But because I think you can reform the tax code, close some of these loopholes we're talking about, and have a comprehensive reform that gets it back to a simple system with 2 rates, and you're going to grow jobs in America.
And what are the chances of that happening in the Congress and the Senate?
We'll pass it in the House, I believe. We'll have a vote on it, and then we'll negotiate.
What he's talking about, national
The national sales tax, I don't think.
pushing it down the road a long ways.
Which is, sir?
That national sales
Okay.
yeah, or rate.
Yeah, now remember the seminal moment we're going to have here. And that comes at the end of this year when the existing tax code reverts to what it was now 12 years ago. All right? Some people say, let that happen. Let that happen. Let part of it happen. Now we're in the debate about which part happens. Because there are, I mean, you have the marriage tax penalty comes back. The inheritance tax, death tax, the exemption goes back down to $1 million. The rate goes, I think, back up to 45 or 55%. The child tax credit, which we doubled or more, goes back down. So, I mean, and the interesting debate on the sort of no tax, what tax are we arguing over here is, at 11:59 on December 31st of this year, what some might argue would be a tax rate increase, 2 minutes later could be a huge tax cut, right? Because if the tax rates expire and everything pops up, all of a sudden, what you might have proposed as a compromise rewrite of the tax code on this day, under the pledge I did sign, I keep my word, on this day is a whole different animal. And so that's where I want to get out of that discussion and into one that says, how do we get our competition back in America and grow jobs here? What keeps that from happening? And how do we... And the long run. Short run and long run. Well, we're going to have to face it December 31. The current code, as you know, was extended 2 years ago with the House and the Senate and President Obama signing the extension into law, because the feeling was, as bad as the economy was, that it wouldn't be made any better by not extending it, and so it was extended for 2 years. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Stephanie. I live here in Medford, and in February of 2011, you stood on the House floor and you took the following oath: I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yes.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God.
Yes, ma'am.
However, you chose to vote yes on the National Defense Authorization Act for 2012. The following groups think that this is a blatant attack on our rights given to us by the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. The ACLU, Amnesty International, Human Rights First, Human Rights Watch, the Center for Constitutional Rights, the Council of American Islamic Relations, and it was criticized in editorials published in the New York Times, The Guardian, Al Jazeera, and other countless blogs on the internet. Also, the Occupy group and the Tea Party agree on this issue, that the indefinite detention in this bill violate our rights as American citizens. Finally, I wrote you specifically on this issue saying that as one of your constituents, I thought that this bill should be voted down, and it was an issue of whether I would ever vote for you again to represent me in Congress. And you failed me on this. And I would like an explanation beyond what's on your website that says disregards that you think that this doesn't allow indefinite detention, specifically of American citizens. Because there are plenty of groups and plenty of other senators and Congress people who believe it does allow indefinite detention.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for writing. So, what I would draw your attention to is the actual act, and let's get into a discussion about what it does and what it doesn't do. There were many people who, and I shared the concern, thought that the way it was drafted did not protect our constitutional rights. It was a big subject of debate in the committee, and I'm not on the Defense Committee. And it was a big subject of discussion in our Republican conference, and I was there for that discussion. So first of all, the NDAA is the National Defense Authorization Act. This also funds our troops. This sets up the funding levels for our military. This does all that. So there are a lot of groups that would disagree with what you just said based on the final language in the bill. So